Okay. Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of Two Plant-Based Brothers. I am William, the teacher, and this is my brother.
Daniel Nowotnik, Beard on the Trail, whichever I'm left or right. On your screen, on my screen, you're left of me.
Yeah, I don't know how this turns out. I never check to see if I'm pointing the right way or not. But anyway, um, anyway, welcome. We are still in January, and so quick little check back on anybody doing Veganuary and seeing how you're doing. Once again, we promised we'd check in with you all month, so keep it going on. I hope you've seen some progress and you're feeling better about yourself. I will tell you this real quick, Daniel, if you don't mind.
Yes. No, I don't mind at all.
I went to the grocery store, to the local grocer, and not the
Mhm.
one that's the cheaper one, the one that costs a little bit more, but they let me bring in my backpack. You could see the whole episode we did about meal prepping and shopping, in case you want
Mhm.
to get a little bit more information. But I picked out, a variety. I'm working on getting a more variety
Right.
of food. So picked out a few different things. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 different plant foods, right?
A
And
lot.
my grand total was 2331. So not a bad
Wow.
deal. So,
Yeah.
and how much did that carne asada, if you don't mind me asking, how much did it cost? Do you remember the
I
price?
don't remember the price, but I'm pretty sure it was over $23.
Over $23 for one piece of meat
Yeah.
or tons of vegetables. And that's it. That's all I'm going to mention. I think
That's great.
if you've been doing it, once again, trying to eat whole foods, and not packaged products. We talked about the fake things and stuff like that. You know,
Mhm.
you should see a really good receipt, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, for sure. And then I bet you if you do the price on beans and rice per, price per serving, it's probably we're
Mm,
talking probably pennies or
yeah.
cents, nickels,
Yeah.
dimes, maybe.
Definitely not included on this. Although
Right.
I did use the last of my pinto beans, I used the last of my garbanzo beans. I'm getting low on quinoa.
Hmm.
These are all things that I generally have in my cupboard.
Right.
I will buy, I don't know, 4 or 5 pounds at a time, whatever it is,
Mm,
and it'll cost me $4 or $5, whatever. Maybe a little bit more, six, something like that. You used to get them 99 cents
six,
to
seven, maybe.
$1.99 a pound,
Yeah.
6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7. And the kids are gonna love that one.
They
And
are.
and they last me for a while.
Yeah.
I
No, for
probably
sure.
use like a cup and a half at a time of each when I cook my big batch of beans. So, you know, not too
Oh,
pricey. So, anyway,
good.
what are we going to talk about today, Daniel?
Today, we're going to continue picking up. Last time we were talking about blue zones. We both gave ourselves a grade on kind of how we're doing, which we have some improvement coming our way this year, right? Of kind of that holistic lifestyle that we're looking and aiming to target. But we'll kind of narrow back into food a bit. And I don't know if it was last episode or the episode before that, we talked a little bit about kind of food and our relationship with food and what that looks like. So we're going to dive a little deeper into that, kind of maybe some of the reflection I know I've done. Maybe William, you've done some yourself. And I'd love to hear how everyone else has a relationship with food, because I think for me, to put it in one word, I would say complicated is my answer to that question. What's my relationship with food?
Yeah, and I would say for a lot of us, it's the same way. And it's going back to last week. What we discussed was the 80% rule the
Mhm.
Okinawans have. And I told everybody, if you're listening,
Yeah.
I don't know what 80% is,
Yeah.
right? And that's the really hard part with my relationship with food is knowing when to say when. And,
Hmm.
and you can put a lot of good stuff in your body. And that's the best thing is to get a lot of good stuff. But at the same time, you got to know that limit. So,
Right.
that's definitely complicated. We can
Yeah.
agree on that.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
we also talked about going back to our childhood and growing up in a way that's I don't think is bad. It's the way we grew up is to clean your plate and
Hmm.
not really necessary a lot of times, but neither one of us like waste.
No.
And so finding that that balance on what we can eat and whatnot. So, I know you've done a lot of thinking on it. So just, if you don't mind telling us about how your relationship food you feel is and how it has
Mhm.
changed.
Sure. I guess I'll kind of rewind back into little Danny sitting at home. And for context, for everyone who doesn't know, I have three older brothers who flew the coop. Is that a thing you could say? Yeah,
Yeah.
left in my formative years. I say
Yeah.
probably like right around when I guess 9, 10 years old. You guys were already out
Yeah.
of the house, right? And so, and mom might kill me for saying this too. We didn't have a lot of, and this is memory, so she could clearly correct me if I'm
Mom,
wrong.
don't forget to go ahead and comment.
Yeah,
It's
she can
fine.
do it in the comments. She might be downstairs listening to this in my own house right now. She dropped off the kids. Anyways, and we ate more often is what I'll say. I'll keep it kind of simple. We ate out more often, so didn't have as many home cooked meals as I became a teenager. Just busy. Both
Mhm.
our parents worked. How she raised four boys in that household, all of us in sports, pretty much at the same time. I still don't know how she did it while both of them working. So I still commend her for doing all of that. But nutrition, I think, was a relationship early on. I didn't really have a relationship I didn't know enough about other than, the food pyramid you get in school, which, we may agree or disagree on that, but the pyramid was so messed up back then, might still be where,
I think it
you have
still
like,
is.
yeah, it's just messed up. And
But
so like
once again, hate to cut
education.
you off about the
No,
food
go
pyramid.
ahead.
I mean, you could talk to, I don't know how many different experts and get 25 different expert opinions. And
Yeah.
we could do a whole thing on these fads of these diets that go around, and people will tell you, go ahead, just go on Instagram and go down the reels or go to YouTube or go to Facebook or anywhere where you have 1,000 different experts going to tell you don't eat this or don't eat that. And
Mhm.
then you're going to see all these recommendations. So
Yeah.
go ahead and take us back to little Danny and this food pyramid.
Little they'll call him 10 years old, sitting in the family room, probably summertime. I'm home alone. I don't think I had a babysitter at some point, whatever early teen or preteen age,
Yeah,
whatever. That
come on,
could have
you're
been
old enough.
12. Could have been
Yeah,
12. I'll just throw it out
12.
there. And then sitting there, and we have a big container, if you remember the cheese balls, right? The big cheese balls and
Yeah.
bags of Doritos in the cupboard. And I remember single-handedly one day going through either that entire tub of cheese balls and or that entire bag of Doritos chips and not feeling disgusted with myself. Just as a
Mhm.
matter of fact, binge watching TV on, I had my lineup of shows in the summertime. I didn't necessarily have an active summer when I was home, when I became home alone of sorts, and both mom and dad worked. And just going through it, and then to me, it just can continue to spiral from then. And I battled, I think, yeah, obesity and being overweight most of my childhood from then on. So it's basically like from fifth grade, like fifth to until I started working to like eighth or ninth grade is when I kind of was overweight and just hated the way I looked, hated the way I felt. I did baseball, at an age, but baseball's not the most active sport, especially if you don't get a lot of playing time. It's riding the bench most of the time. And so I just would constantly binge eat. And then, of course, didn't associate that with how I felt too. And now looking back at it, when I feel stressed out, when I feel lethargic, food is just something I crave and go to. And it's not the healthy stuff that I'm reaching for. It's the processed foods that
Mhm.
give you that satiation or whatever in your mouth, that crunch, just to keep going. And like you said, I don't know when to stop. Like mentally, I don't know when to stop. And that's also was and still my relationship with alcohol. So I don't think it's unique to just food. It's a thing with me in general, of things that you just don't really, it's in your subconscious, right?
Mhm.
Crazy. That's
Yeah.
a little Disney.
And no, I mean, I'll tell you, for me, it's always since I was young, and I can remember going out, to a restaurant or something like that, and looking for, I wasn't even paying, but I wanted to find the one that was the most bang for the buck, right?
Gotcha.
Whichever one I thought had the most on
Yeah.
it, whatever plate had the most on it was going to be the biggest, and it didn't cost more than the others, right?
Hmm.
And And that's still probably to this day something to where, I don't go out to happy hour anymore, but, going out to a happy hour and they have all these half price things. Well, they're half price, I can get twice as many,
Right.
right? And then usually fried, foods, things like that that aren't good for you. And
Hmm.
just trying to get most bang for my buck. I think I prided myself as a young person, as a bachelor, right? Working through college in restaurants. And I prided myself on not actually buying food from my restaurant, right? Because
Mm.
even though I got 50% off, I mean, it was
Yeah.
still more than it would cost for me to feed myself at home.
Right.
And so what I lived off for many, many years were frozen burritos. Tina's, shout
Hmm.
out to Tina's, 25
Yeah.
cents.
That's
I'm sure you guys have heard of that. And
like
then
three for a dollar.
what was named or coined, titled, whatever, by my friend Damon as gruel, right? So I would take this can of chili, a can of beans, another can of beans, and a can of Rotel tomatoes, and a can of
Uh,
corn, right? All cans, so no
yeah.
sodium in this at all. And I would just mix all that together. That's me being a chef, right?
Yeah.
And so take that and take my two Tina's burritos and pour that gruel over it and microwave it. That was a
It's gourmet. Yeah.
staple for years. And it was a lot cheaper than going out and buying stuff. I can imagine
Right.
my friends going out and buying fast food every day or and I thought, I'm processing that there's nothing good about what I'm eating,
Hmm. Yeah, it
right?
was cheap at that point. Your main
And
focus was cheap.
so that whole thing of waste not really kind of went on into, more adulthood, get married, and you can find these funny Instagram reels or something, a husband waiting for his wife to say she's full. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's just like whatever Sabrina didn't eat, I would happy to clean up. It's one of
Yeah.
the biggest things that's happened to us since I changed my diet and became vegetarian or 98% plant-based, whatever, is that I won't eat the stuff that's on her
That's
plate.
good. Yeah. Well, that's really
And
helpful.
that's one of those things. It's like even if we would share a dessert,
Yeah.
right? She would take two bites and be full, and I'd be like, "Well, hey, come on, the ice cream's melting. Someone's going to
Yeah.
have to eat this." And you
Have to.
take one for the team.
Yeah.
And so that's always been a big issue. And I enjoy eating, and that's another thing. There was this shortstop for the San Diego Padres. I don't know if you ever heard of a guy named Khalil Green.
Yeah, I remember him.
He was an interesting cat, right? And I remember reading this article about him, must be, gosh, 20 years ago now.
Hmm.
And he said he only ate for fuel, right? And that's all it was to him,
Hmm.
was fuel. And I thought it was mind blowing that I couldn't wrap my mind around that,
Yeah.
because it should be how we look at food, right? This is fuel so that we can do what we need to do instead
Right.
of being this great enjoyment. But it really is. It's enjoyable, and you get into all these processed things. Made, they're designed to
Exactly, to get you to have more of it,
yeah.
right? And that's why we're this, the system is setting us up to be, to fail
Mhm.
essentially to it. And I also think, and I'm sure there's studies out there in the back, that exist, like even from our own, like going back to fuel, like just at our own core as humans, right? We
Mhm.
That's all we did eat was to fuel our body and survive, and we didn't know what our next meal was going to be if we're thinking caveman areas, right? Cave women area times, and so that also is in the back of my head too. I was like, I can't help myself, but I'm trying to think. No, I am an owner of this body, of this flesh, of this mind. I can, change that psychology and the way I approach it. And I love that, 2 cents about kind of fuel and eating to fuel our bodies and what we need to it. Just to speak on just last night, the finishing the meal thing, my son, I made actually vegan ramen because we didn't have their beef ramen or whatever in the cupboard. So I made vegan ramen for them, and he was full. He said, "Oh, I'm done." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I couldn't help myself. I just so naturally, all right, let me just finish this off. I'm not gonna pour it down the sink
Yeah.
or throw it away. I just had to. And it wasn't a lot, but at the same time, it's that same point.
Mhm.
I had already eaten. I was already content. But the fact that he had his in his bowl, I had to.
Yeah,
I had to go for it. And that's
yeah,
something that, I get to work on hopefully this year. Hopefully
yeah.
today.
No, and yeah, I forget about you talking about kids, right? I mean, that the kids eat enough, and then it's enough, and it's fine, and then but you don't want to throw it away, so you end up cleaning their plates.
Yeah.
I think if you even talk to my oldest daughter, Madeline, she'll call me a scavenger.
Right.
It's just like, no, and it's just something that we've realized and that
Right.
we are working
There's an
on.
awareness.
And I still think that the way that I'm approaching it is by um, eating as many different plant
Mhm.
foods,
Yeah.
real plant foods, right? That even if I do go overboard, right,
Hmm.
it won't be as detrimental as sitting
Right.
down and eating a big thing of cheese puffs,
Right.
right?
Yeah, keep them
And
out of the cupboard, right? And I think that's, probably my biggest trick, at least at home in my controlled environment, is keep it out of the cupboard.
I don't
Then I
control what's in the cupboard in my home,
Yeah.
so
Well, but your advantage, right, is that a lot of those things aren't necessarily things you would eat because of your own choices of being, primarily plant-based, right? It's only those things that I don't know if Oreos are the cupboard, right? So Oreos are technically, plant-based, something like that. So that if those things are in there, sure. Lately, I've been having a sweet tooth, so I have like my little teeny tiny whatever thing of, was it coconut cream ice cream or something, coconut ice cream. So I have that I've been doing like a little scoop at night to kind of satisfy my sweet tooth. But I want to stay away from sugar too. Like that's something I'm looking to get away from this year as we're really looking primarily no processed foods in the house of sorts.
yeah, I mean, it's just when you once again we talked about being plant-based in a family that's not, and the
Mhm.
difficult parts of that. um and at some point, you just have to be able to
Have
let
the
those
willpower.
leftovers go bad. And
Yeah.
right, and for me, it's extremely easy for me to let a steak sit, and if it goes bad, it goes bad. Let ribs,
Yeah.
chicken, these kinds of things, they just, okay, someone brought them home, they don't want to finish it, okay. But my daughter's fake chicken tacos, and there's an extra one, and she says I can have it, and, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll probably have it, you
Yeah.
know and that's just, it's something to think about. It's something to realize, and how we developed our relationship with food goes back a long ways. And
Right.
I don't know, it's just like, yeah, clean your plate and that's it. And you know try to find different ways to overcome this.
Hmm.
One, as you mentioned, is don't have anything in the house, and it's
Right.
easier. It's more difficult when there are other things, but in the house. But you know what? Like I've mentioned before, it's just like I don't have an excuse with it because there's alcohol in my house and I never drink it. Right? There's
Yeah.
meat in my house and I never eat it. But gosh darn it, if there's Lay's potato chips in the house, it's like, well, I'll have a couple.
Right. Yeah, darn chips. I was thinking about this because growing up too, like I think mom was always really good at portion size and not overeating for for my memory. Like it was dad that would always finish the plate. And so there's something to that, right? Something that it was dad that did it and that then became our own habits for whatever reason we took on that. But I do want to pride mom in having that willpower of sorts, because I don't think it's something that I really think about enough that I get to think about. I think now being proactive. So
Mhm.
fun that we get to hold each other accountable.
Yeah. But how many of the veggie tacos did I have at Christmas?
How many? 12? No. 10,
Six,
5, 6?
maybe six.
I had
You know,
a, I had a few. I had a few.
with too much rice and too many beans. But it's the holidays. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. No, great
and
point about just eating more of the vegetables because you can't eat more of it, right? It's not gonna overdo it on that.
well, I mean, once again, I think I'll take you a little bit way back. We're almost at the end of our time here, but do you remember going to a Dodger Padres game with mom and dad a couple years
Mhm.
ago? It was like just after COVID. I mean, it was
Mhm.
still, they had just opened up, must have been 2022.
Uh-huh.
And, Latanya and the kids met us down after the game.
Okay.
And we went back to San Diego. Mom and dad went back to Cherry Valley.
Uh-huh.
And I was cooking this humongous bowl of vegetables. And
Yeah.
like, dude, that's a lot of vegetables. I said, yes, vegetables. I'm gonna eat them all. And then it just came to the point. I made this huge thing, and I took it. I ate it for lunch, and I packed it to go to bring for
Yeah.
the ride. And then it's just like after a while, I just couldn't chew anymore. It's just like
It is a lot more chewing, yeah, if you just do
that's
that.
the thing. Is if you cook them, and then that's why I like cook things, and I could probably never do raw. If I did raw, I probably would lose 1,000 pounds. I don't have 1,000 pounds to lose, but I
Come
just like
on.
just
Do it
chewing
with
them.
me for 7 days. I was telling before we started recording, I'm going to try a 7 day raw vegan diet here in the next few weeks. Do it with me, even if you do 3 days.
We'll see. We'll see. Hey, why not? Because what do we preach on here? It's just like you don't have to do it. You don't have to be 100%. Just give something to try, even if it's just
Yeah,
meatless Mondays. So how about
right.
I do like raw Wednesday?
Raw Wednesday. There we go. I love it. I'm gonna
it's
hold you
it's
to it.
it's a start, but this is the wrong time of year to do this, Daniel. I mean,
Why?
because it's cold. You want warm, comforting food, really good,
You do
cooked
realize it's supposed to be
food.
like low to mid 70s all week.
I ate outside today. It was absolutely gorgeous. A salad would have been fine, but
Yeah.
I had my I had my I think 19 ingredient lunch, which
Yeah,
was
no.
absolutely delicious.
Oh,
So
good.
anyway, just want my receipt. Anyway, yeah, we got to
Evidence.
get going, but thank you everybody watching and paying attention to psychoanalyze ourselves and our history and everything
Mhm.
else like that. But it's a journey we're continue to go through, and we are
Mhm.
not perfect, and we're not where we want to be, and that's why we continue talking about these things, and we continue trying new things, and just trying to get better. And go ahead, let us know. How about you?
Yeah.
Have you thought about it? Think about it, and did anything resonate? Let us know. Okay,
All right.
that's all I got,
Appreciate it,
Daniel.
everybody. That's all I got. Peace.